Hello, hi, and welcome to EmpathicFire. I am your reader, Jay. This is going to be general messages for the sign of Taurus. We're in the month of July 2018. Hello, Taurus. How are you? Hope you guys are doing well. Slightly long time no see. Some of you may know, end of May, I had some things happen with family coming into town. My life got sort of in disarray, and I tried to recuperate back in June, but I got sick, and then I got better, and then the last time I saw you guys, I had just gotten better, but right after that, I got sick again, and I got bronchitis. So now we're about 11 days into July, 10, 11 days into July, and I'm bringing you these messages now. So please forgive me for the lateness, but, when you have bronchitis, it's like you can barely talk, you look awful, you feel awful, but now I feel good, I can speak. I look good, even though you only see my hands, and, so I've gone ahead and I've shuffled a bit off camera. What I'm going to get now is your outcome and your overall energy. And let's go ahead and get those things. That was easy. Yeah. Welcome back to previous viewers also. I appreciate you guys coming back. If you're new to my channel, you're welcome here as well. And I'm going to go ahead and flip the remaining cards that came face down. And then once they're revealed, I'll get into your reading, Taurus, and we'll see what's going on. Alright, Taurus, July 2018. And I hope your summer's going well, Taurus. Mine is going pretty good, aside from being sick. Alright, Taurus. Where's Taurus, please? Taurus, where's Taurus, please? Thank you. Okay. Eight of Swords reversed and the Four of Swords. That's good. Progression, I feel. There's a progression here. Yeah. Okay, so Eight of Swords reverse. It's wonderful news for you, Taurus. You're coming out of bondage, so to speak. You're coming out of this state of mind where you felt trapped, where you felt isolated, where you felt as if you had, like, nowhere to go in life. You felt like the world around you was crumbling, or you had no friends, you had no confidants, you had no one in your corner. And I think you're coming out of that mindset because, again, it is a mindset, right? The Eight of Swords upright so you can see it better. You know, the woman, she's surrounded by swords, but she can step away, and the cloth that's binding her isn't really tight, so she might be able to shimmy out of it. And any type of blindfold like that, I believe at some point you could probably get that off of you too. So the traditional understanding of the Eight of Swords upright is that it is, like I said, a mindset. It's your own thoughts. It's your own self-perception that makes you feel as if you have nothing and you have no one. And I think you're kind of coming out of that, Taurus, where you're feeling a little bit more confident. You're feeling a little bit more assured of yourself. You feel as if you are able to make moves eventually. Okay, thank you. So maybe you're not fully there, and that would make sense with the Four of Swords following. So the mindset, at least, is trimmed away or is falling away. This idea of it's not going to get better. Of course it is. Life is full of ups and downs, peaks and valleys, right? So you've just come out of a valley, and you're going to go up the peak. The valley, you were down there, and it was horrible. You know, I'm imagining like that scene from like The Princess Bride where they go into like that deep, dank, dark forest and, you know, they fight off that giant rat and everything like that. But that's after they go down like a really like steep hill, right? So that's sort of what's going on, is like you're traversing, or you have been traversing, this really dark period in your life, this really scary outlook that you had, a hopeless outlook, or one where you felt really like the odds were stacked against you. And I think that the mindset is stripping away. How your heart feels, maybe not so much. You might not be active in a way that maybe you think you should be, or that might be helpful to you, but at least your mind is becoming clearer, okay? And that's partnering here with the Four of Swords. That Eight of Swords in reverse is partnering with the Four of Swords upright. So I think a lot of why that mindset is melting away or is being trimmed away is because you've been doing, a lot of you have been doing some kind of conscious meditation. Whether you're going to classify it that way or label it that way, I don't know. But I feel as if you've been doing like some really constructive thinking. Some of you have been reminiscing. It is a card of reminiscence. It is a card of reflection. So some of you are playing back certain events in your life, certain storylines in your life, certain relationships in your life, certain behaviors and all of that in your life that have had an impact on you in some type of way. This might involve a particular circumstance or a particular relationship. It's general, so apply it where you can. But what it is you're playing it back, doing like an instant replay, even though it might not be instant because this might be stuff from like 10 years ago. But it's sort of like that. You're reviewing the tapes. You're going back over everything that you can recall, the details. I said this, they said that. I did this, they did that. And for some of you, this is very helpful because, again, it's giving you the Eight of Swords, where you're realizing, I'm not trapped to that situation. I'm not tied to those circumstances or that person anymore. I'm not tied to the fallout that occurred 15 years ago, whatever. Others of you, you're recalling it and you realize sort of how it's influenced you to be here. And that's what sets you free. Like, because you are still fixated on it, you were here. Now some of you are like, I need to stop replaying this. This is where this is more for the conscious meditation people, where some of you might catch yourselves. Like, you're in the middle of making your breakfast in the morning, or you're out doing your morning commute to work, and you're just going about your day, and then suddenly a memory will hit you. Or you'll see someone cross the intersection and they look like someone that you used to know. And you're like, oh, is that so-and-so? And you're like, no, that's not so-and-so. And then all of a sudden the floodgates open. And you were having a wonderful morning. You felt great past couple of days, past couple of weeks. But then suddenly you're triggered, essentially, into going back into a certain mindset that was negative, that was withholding, that was binding you. And you're like, why? Why did I do that? Like, you might not literally feel it in that moment of seeing the person or being triggered however you are. So let's say it is, you saw someone cross an intersection, you're like, oh, is that so-and-so? And your conscious mind is like, no, that's not so-and-so, let's go. We're going to work, we're going wherever. And you go about your day and you feel good, but as you progress throughout the day, you notice that your mood kind of dips, you feel a little bit more melancholy, you feel a little bit more kind of agitated, some of you. And you're like, why am I feeling this way? I had a great morning. I had a lovely breakfast. I talked to my mom, or I talked to my best friend, whoever, and I felt great. Come lunchtime, come, the afternoon break, you're like, God, I just want to go home and eat a Tombstone pizza and watch Netflix and go to bed. Like, you're feeling so uninspired suddenly. Subconsciously, you've been triggered because of something that you saw, someone that you saw that reminded you of something of when you were like this in the upright. You currently are like that because you're living your day-to-day life and you're feeling pretty good. But there are some remnants still. And in the Four of Swords period, because these two are coming together, or rather, not period, but the influence of the Four of Swords, excuse me, these parts, or the things that made you feel this way, or the person, if it's not just circumstances or situations or behaviors or anything like that, if it is a specific person, whatever it is, the Four of Swords is your ability to sort of deconstruct that. You see it, you recognize it, you label it as the thing, or you label it as the person that upsets you, or you label it as the thing that causes you stress, and then like I said, you deconstruct it, you dismantle it, you go into it further. Okay, so my ex-boyfriend is this person. And and then you go deeper. You're like, okay, so before him, I dated this person. Before him, I dated that person. And before him, I learned about dating and relationships from, I'm getting real deep with you, Taurus. So this is kind of where some of you are at. Like, you're doing like this deep psychoanalysis on yourself, or with a professional. But regardless, you're kind of linking back to like the root the systemic start of when this happened to you. And you want to release it. God, you want to release it. You want to be out of this. And this reflective period, this conscious meditation, or this conscious psychoanalyzation that you're doing, it's what's helping you. So some of you, like I said before, conscious meditation. So you see the person who looks like your ex, or you see the person that looks like a person in your family that you don't talk to anymore. Whoever, whatever the trigger is. Some of you see it, you're like, and then you catch yourself before you pop the tombstone into the oven, the tombstone pizza into the oven. You're like, oh, that stranger I saw crossing in front of my car looks like so-and-so. And the reason I got bummed out today is because I don't like so-and-so, or I don't like what so-and-so did to me or said to me, or how we get along right now. No wonder I'm going to eat this whole pizza for my dinner and not, the lovely arugula salad with cranberries and walnuts that I planned for myself. I'm going to eat this tombstone pizza. This is why I want to do this. And and because you make that connection, Taurus, you're able to let it go a lot easier. Where before something plagued you subconsciously, or even realizing that this person still had an effect on you was bothersome. Taurus doesn't like that. You don't like to be affected. When you realize something affects you, it really just ruffles your feathers. You really get agitated because you don't like to give that power up to someone else, even though you do. You regularly give up your power, Taurus. Let's not aptly, because you are the bull. Let's not BS around, okay? 1 second. You regularly give up your power. I shouldn't say it that way. You don't give up your power, but you give up your allegiance. You give up your love, your affection, your loyalty to people you care about, to people that you love. And that's wonderful. That's a great quality to have. Most people should have that quality. It builds great, strong bonds with each other. But that's the risk, isn't it? Because the closer you are to the person, the more loyal you are to them, the more that they have a hold of your heart, the more power they have over you, the more influence they have over you. And when you realize that, it really gets your goat. You really, really dislike it, because you would never do that to someone else. A lot of Tauruses. Whether that's actually true or not, debatable. But your perception is, I would never do to other people what has been done to me. Taurus is how you feel. And I've known a couple Tauruses in my life, so I can definitely say that argument has been said to me a few times. I would never do that to anyone else, what they did to me. And that's probably true in a lot of cases for many Tauruses. Not all. But many of you definitely wouldn't be so... You would handle... When you care about someone, when you have a close friendship, a close love relationship, whatever, with someone, you want to protect that person. You want to treat them well. And when you're not treated well in return, and when you're not respected or given loyalty, or even if someone has to essentially hurt your feelings or break your heart, you want them to do it in a certain way. And when they don't, it's like the biggest why. How could you in your life? And so back to the tombstone pizza that's cooking in your oven, Taurus. When you realize that that person that crossed in front of your car, or whatever happened that triggered you, that made you feel kind of crummy on whatever given day or whatever given period, once you realize that the trigger was the visual cue, or you heard something, a certain song came on the radio and you listened to it, but you didn't realize subconsciously it was like tearing your guts out. When you realize that, a lot of you are doing this conscious meditation thing, and I'm just labeling it that way. Some of you might literally be meditating. Some of you might be in therapy. Some of you might be, like I said, analyzing yourself psychoanalytically or whatever. Whatever you're doing, when you recognize the trigger, the fact that you recognize it allows you to process it, allows you to let it go. Another thing you might struggle with, Taurus, is to let it go. Let it go, let it go. And I've never seen that movie. I just know that's like those first 2 lines of that song. or that chorus, I should say. And that's kind of where a lot of you are. You're in the process of letting go. And what fosters that is what's underneath the 2 swords cards. You have the Page of Wands and you have the Queen of Wands. So I think I said in the beginning that the action isn't there yet. This is why. You got the Page. Now the Page is the lowest of the court cards in any of the suits, but the Page of Wands is the lowest in the Wands suit, and he has great intentions. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do some things. I'm going to make moves. He's interested in making moves, but he's naive. He's not polished. He's the greenest of the green, okay? So you might timidly begin to do different things in your life, Taurus. You might begin to, like I said, you're consciously meditating. Maybe you've never done that before. Maybe getting into yoga, going to therapy, or even going out and socializing with friends you haven't seen in a long time, or making new friends. Whatever you're doing, it's a small step towards it. The Page definitely makes those small steps towards his goal. He can't go as fast as the Knight because he doesn't have a horse, and he doesn't have as much experience, and he's not as full of bravado and full of vigor as the Knight is. The Page just goes at a slower pace. But where he is sort of, I guess, I suppose his positive spin or the attribute of the Page that is most beneficial is that the Pages are optimistic. The Pages have all, like, they just, like, everything has potential. Potential. Okay? The Pages are not easily daunted. They're not easily frustrated. They're not easily, they don't give into self-defeatist attitudes. They can't usually be talked out of things. I'm sitting here like, does that make sense? As if you could talk to me. But, so the Page will see their goal out, whereas the Knights can be distracted. The Knights can get lost. The Knights can be, they can give up in the middle of their journey. You know, the Page is definitely a little bit more, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it. That's the only thing that I'm coming across. So even if you're not actually even if you haven't actually begun doing different things in your life, Taurus, if you haven't begun meditating or doing yoga or hanging out with friends or whatever, your intention is there. You're looking into the future. You're forward thinking. The Pages are definitely what's going on in the future, and they constantly have this idea of a beautiful future in front of them, and that's their goal. Knights, again, can be distracted. Kings and queens, they kind of have already accomplished it, so they're kind of on the tail end of what the Page wants. So that's going well for you. I like that Page energy for you, Taurus. As a fire sign, I can tell you that I love when the wands show up in situations like this, because it's a sign that your intention, what's in the core of you, in your gut, in your spirit, is just, you're driven. You want to execute. You know? But anyway, that's a slight digression. Moving on. Right? Partnering next, because these are all partnering, right? So these partner together and these partner together. Queen of Wands. Now I think this is to a certain extent, an outlook that you have for yourself, Taurus. I think that you want to be more like the Queen of Wands, or that you might want to borrow her energy or borrow her dress. Let me see that dress, girl. Let me borrow that dress. Some of you like, I'm making sort of a joke or sort of an allegory there, but actually that might be it. Like, some of you might be coming off of a bad relationship or like a dry spell. You haven't dated anyone seriously for like a year or two, and you've got a friend, she dresses great. You're like, girl, let me borrow that dress. And that might be literally what you're doing. Queen of Wands. You know Queen of Wands, she has fabulous fashion. You're like, look, that one dress, let me see it. I got a date. Or I'm trying to go out and get a date. Let me get that dress, okay? So some of you might be literally doing that. But the general feeling is that you want to borrow or take on the energy of a I'm saying a woman because it's the Queen of Wands, but don't get tied into the gender. It doesn't have to be a literal woman in your literal life. It's the idea of the energy in the card. So you want to take on this energy of a person who is about their business, knows their worth. Queen of Wands, all the queens know their worth. But the Queen of Wands knows her worth and she expresses it. She expresses it. She is explicit. She is like, look, I am this. I need this. Who are you? What do you need? What are you worth? And she's kind of like a negotiator in that way. She's kind of like a no-nonsense negotiator. She's like, time is money, and I'm not about wasting either of those things. So what's going on here? So in the case of the dating realm, if some of you are getting back out into the dating world, you know, you might go on a date or two, or you might be, excuse me, you might be talking to people on dating apps, or you might be set up on a blind date, whatever it is, and you're out to have a good time. The Queen of Wands does want to have a good time, but like I said, she doesn't want to waste her time either, and she's not going to do that for the sake of having a good time. She's not just going to waste her time. Okay, both things have to be satisfied. She has to have a good time, and her time has to be well spent. Okay. So you might be out on a date, or you might be dating around, you know, going out every once in a while with new people, and you know, you exchange the pleasantries. She's not a complete completely socially inept, the Queen of Wands, and you'll do the, oh, blah blah blah, this is what I do, what do you do, and where are you from, and oh, I love this drink, or oh, have you ever tried this, oh, tapas, I love tapas, blah 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 blah. 20 minutes of pleasantries, and then now let's get into the business. What's your 5-year plan? I'm not saying that's exactly what you have been doing or what you should do, but that's sort of the name of the game, Taurus, is that because of where you've been, right? Here and here. I knocked that all around. Here and here. Because of where you've been, and you've been here too. We're going to talk about that in a second. Because of where you've been, you are so sure of where you're going and where you want to go and what you want to see when you get there. Page of Wands is like sketching out the future. He's like, okay, we're going to have this kind of house. We're going to drive this car. And, ooh, look, a dog. We're going to have a dog too. Like, you know. And the Queen of Wands is going to be out there making sure the sketch comes to life. Okay? Now, how you go about it, that's your business. But I just know that the Queen of Wands is very assured. She's very assertive. And like I said, she's about the business. She's not there to waste her time. She does want to have a good time, but if it's a waste, she's going to call it a night and be like, okay, thanks. Thank you for the drink, or thanks for spending time with me. Okay, I have to go home now because you're not a part of the sketch. I can see it. You're not a part of the sketch. Bye. Alright, so that's really where you are now. This is where you've been. This is kind of, it's sort of like a weird backward circle. This is where you've been. This is where you're coming out of, and this is where you're going, right? So this is kind of where I want you to focus. But because these three came, my God, let's go ahead and talk about it. So Taurus, you've, not all of you, of course. If this hasn't resonated with you and you're still watching 20-some minutes into this, I apologize. This isn't a reading for you. Feel free to click away. But for those where this is kind of resonating, I think some of you have been in this situation where you've been heartbroken. And don't take that to mean, because I'm getting this now, some of you are still heartbroken. What do I mean? Some of you have had heartbreak as in the end of a relationship. A relationship ended sometime in the past. Recently, semi-recently, a long time ago, whatever. But there's been a significant heartbreak that you've experienced. And it has weighed on you, and it has influenced you to be in this position now with the 8 of Swords reverse and the 4 of Swords upright. The 3 of Swords is influencing that. Now, some of you, that relationship is dead and gone. You don't talk to that person anymore, or you see them regularly, but you're just friends, whatever. Others of you, you're still with this person, but you're heartbroken. You still have some type of substantial tie to them. Married to them, have kids with them, live with them, have weird hit back sex with them, okay? Like they're your, 1:30 on a Thursday night, and your phone goes, and it's them. And you're like, God, why do you keep doing this? And part of you is like, don't answer, don't engage. The other part of you is like, but I really like them. Or maybe this time it'll be different. Okay? So so it basically can apply to almost any situation that you're in. Totally broken up, don't even speak to them again anymore. Broken up, but you're still friends. Married, it's miserable. Or married and you're just crying at night and they're just doing whatever. The significant part is that you have been hurt. Taurus, you've been let down. You've been dismissed, some of you. Some of you have literally been hurt. I'm getting this. Literally, like someone has put hands on you, some of you. And that's terrible. If that's your current situation, get the hell out. They're not worth it. Stop that. Okay? Others of you, it's been just different. Like, they want that thing, you want this thing, and at some point you thought it was the same, but now it's like, nah, it's different. It's different. Different roads, different paths. Some of you. Regardless, this person, like I said before, you poured a lot of your heart and soul into this person, into this relationship. And it doesn't have to be necessarily romantic or a marriage. It can be a significant friendship. It can be a significant relationship with someone in a family, a close cousin of yours, or a sibling where, you know, you guys were bosom buddies the majority of your lives, but then something happened and now you kind of have drifted apart. This person means a lot to you. And for some of you, it's meant, like it's past. But for many of you, they still mean a lot to you. Whether they're in your life or not, they mean something to you. And like I said, Taurus, when you give your all to a person and you give your loyalty to a person and you cherish them and you want that reciprocated to you and it doesn't happen, it stays with you a long time. It weighs on you for a long time. And that's what's happening here. Whether you're still with them or you still know them, you talk to them every day, whatever. The weight of that heartbreak and heartache is tremendous. And it is so tremendous because you admire this person. They mean a lot to you. You see them. You see how wonderful they are. They're powerful. They're smart. They're amazing. They're funny. They're charming. All of those things. You see their great qualities. And what you don't see is that doesn't make them perfect. Why am I saying this? Because it's coming through. Oh, God, it's coming through in a weird way. But it's fitting that these cards are here. Because underneath this heartache, underneath this heartbreak, you have the Page of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords. Page of Pentacles. That's you, Taurus. Regardless of that it's Pentacles. Just look at the Page of Pentacles, Queen of Swords. This is you. This is them. You, them. You, them. Now, it just so happens Pentacles is assigned to Earth signs, and you are an Earth sign. So great. That aligns. Queen of Swords. Air sign, potentially. Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. Potentially. Doesn't have to be. But look at the posture of these two cards. If you're the Page of Pentacles, Taurus, and whoever this person is the Queen of Swords, what do we got here? We've got someone offering something to someone who doesn't even acknowledge the offer. Someone is giving something that's precious, that has value, that they've cultivated, that they've kept and protected, that they've cultivated, and that they've put a lot of hard-earned resources or effort into, time into, energy into, and they're giving it to someone whose back is turned to them. Okay? I really care about you, Queen of Swords. I like our relationship. I love you. I care about you. Here's this pentacle. Whatever the pentacle is. Could be money. Some of you may have given this person money or offered them some type of monetary or tangible resource. what's the Queen of Swords doing? Let's get a close one on her. What is she doing? Not looking, not acknowledging, turned away. Has a hand out, but not in the Page of Pentacles direction. So basically, Taurus, and I don't remember because it's been a while, but I kind of feel this has been going on for you, for those of you that I suppose are meant to see these messages and all of that. You're giving your energy to a person who doesn't appreciate it. You're giving a part of yourself, your resources, your time, your money, whatever it is, to someone who doesn't care, who isn't open to receiving it, who might not even be listening to you. And it doesn't have to be actual gifts or money or anything like that. It could just be your offer could actually be a plea. So some of you are giving money and all that kind of stuff. You're offering something. That's true. Others of you are making pleas, are asking to be acknowledged, asking to be heard, asking to be engaged with. The other person's turned away. So your offer might be a spend time with me, visit me, go with me to this place, let's travel here. And this person not acknowledging you, not answering you, or giving you the cold shoulder. They might look you dead in your eyes and turn around and walk away. And that's the answer that you get. Some of them are saying no straight up to your face. Some of them are deflecting and saying maybe we could, maybe let's think about it, blah, 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 blah. But regardless, it was just, for those of you who this is still happening, I'm sorry. But for others of you, it was just a total disconnect. And that is where you were. Whether you're actually engaging with this person, engaging in that situation currently, or whether it was months ago, years ago, weeks ago, whatever. It's in the past. That's kind of a weird concept to say to someone who is still with this person, living with them, seeing them, speaking to them, whatever. No, that's your past, Taurus, whether you're still in it or not. That's your past. Get out of there. Okay? And I hate to be so, hard and, aggressive with that message. But because of everything that I said here, and because of that and that, it's just no, this is going nowhere. This is going nowhere. When you offer to someone who doesn't acknowledge you, doesn't return your calls, doesn't return your messages, doesn't give you affirmative yes or no answers, blows you off, gives you a cold shoulder, is vague, is apathetic, is not committal. No, stop it. Stop it. And it's hard for Taurus. It's very hard because you've poured a lot of your energy into this person. You've given them your loyalty. You've given them your energy. You've made oaths in some cases, actual marriage oaths for those of you who might have been married to this person or are married to this person, right? Others of you, it's just that idea of faithfulness. Taurus, you're very faithful. You're very loyal, okay? And once you give it to someone and they throw it back in your face, a lot of you just don't accept it. A lot of you are just no, but I gave it to you. And you pick it up and you hand it to them again, and they throw it back at you again. And then you walk over and you pick it up again and you dust it off. You're like, but this is my loyalty. This is my heart. This is my commitment to you. Here. And they knock it out of your hand and throw it on the ground and they stomp on it. And they walk away. And what's your response? You go over, you pick up the pieces, you glue them together, you use some duct tape, whatever. And you go again, and you try and engage with this person. Again and again and again. Don't do that. It's a great quality to have, to be loyal. But when it's to a fault, when it leads to you being in this position, which is where you were, trapped, had no idea how to get out. You felt stuck. You had no hope. It's trimming away. It's slipping away. It's melting away. Don't forget that. You're making progress. You're sketching new futures for yourself. This is in the past. We had to acknowledge it. And I feel so strongly about it because, again, that is still very much a part of your day-to-day life, many of you. If you're living with this person, still married to them, having to communicate with them, that's still going to be very fresh and raw and very much a reality for you. So that's why we have to address it so strongly, and we have to go into it so thoroughly. But again, it's a weird concept to think of. Even if this is what you deal with day to day, even if that's the person that you wake up to every morning, they are a part of your past. Okay? I'm not saying you're going to break up, because that's not exactly what that means, or that you're going to divorce or anything like that. Some of you might, others of you, it's a part of your past, meaning the conditions, the circumstances between you. That's a part of your past. You're going to get some practical plan together that removes that. If I keep offering this to you and you keep throwing it back in my face, I'm not going to offer it to you anymore. See how that changes their behavior. Some people need that wake-up call, Taurus, where you remove the offer, you take away your loyalty a bit, or you alter the ways in which you give it to them, and then it wakes them up. And then they start to show you appreciation. They start to value you in the way that you should be valued. They communicate with you the way that you need to be communicated with. Okay? So that's what I mean. It's a very nuanced thing. And it's not going to excuse me, it's not going to translate over and fit into a nice little box for all of you. But the point is, that's where you were. This is where you are now, and this is where you're going. And in the future, you're sketching something beautiful. You have an outlook that is optimistic, that is positive, that can't be easily swayed, or at least that's what you should hope for, or are hoping for. And you have this idea of expecting better results and holding others accountable to the standards that you set. Taurus, you're a sign of value. What does that mean? You know your self-worth. And sometimes you forget it, or you need to be reminded of it. I hope this is a reminder to you, because that's sometimes what is required to make other people recognize it. I know my self-worth, and I'm expressing it to you. I'm demonstrating it to you. Don't you see it? Now that you see it, what are you going to bring to the table now? You want that Queen of Swords to get off her high horse, or she's sitting on clouds or on a mountaintop or whatever. So you want her to kind of come back down to earth. Be like, look, listen up. I'm Taurus. Here's my value. Here's how I'm going to share my value with you. Here's how I'm going to make connection with you. Do you want a part of this or not? Or now that I am expressing it to you, here's how I'm going to take it away. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to provide you with this. I'm not going to be your support in this way, or I'm not going to show up for you in these ways because you're not showing up for me in those ways. You see what I mean? And it's not a matter of tit for tat. It's a matter of, if I do it for you without you asking, this is Taurus speaking. If I give it to you and you don't have to ask me to show up for you here, to give you support there, to show you affection here, I do it automatically because it's who I am. If I'm doing that and you're not doing it in return, that means I have to take those things back. And from that point forward, we're going to see what happens. That's for those where you're still with this person, you're going to be dealing with this person. For others of you, just translate that and slap it onto a new person, potentially, that you've, had a Tinder date with or something, All right. Taurus, your outcome for July, 2 of Pentacles. So, this is what I just said. What are you going to do going forward? This is a decision-making card. This is a card of, I could do this, I could do that. And there is this trepidation. There is sort of like this confusion. Not confusion, but there is this apprehension. There's a teeter-tottering kind of feeling behind the 2 of Pentacles, where you could go left, you could go right, and whichever way you choose is sort of like, has its own set of consequences, right? If I stay in this cycle, if I don't stand up for myself, if I don't assert my value, if I don't do this, then that might happen. If I do assert my value, if I do stand up for myself, if I do start to make those changes, then this will happen. And both directions, or both choices, have their own set of pros and cons. The trouble is choosing, and that's what this is. So you're having trouble with choosing. Or you might have trouble with choosing, I should say. Some of you are like flipping the switches and you're like, nope, I chose and it's over. Or I went left and that's what it is. For others of you, you will get stuck in the choice. You will get stuck in the choice and the follow through. Thank you. And the follow through. And I think what you should take away, I've been full of shoulds today, even though you're like the second reading. I've had previous discussions in my social life, and I've been full of the shoulds today. But anyway, what I think is the takeaway is not necessarily the idea of choice and having apprehension with choice, but the bigger idea that I think, Taurus, that you have to kind of come to terms with is the infinity symbol that surrounds the pentacles, right? What's that mean? It's going to happen again and again and again. Not this particular choice, not this particular circumstance, but coming to sort of like these crossroads or coming to these very pivotal moments in life where you do make big turns. You do go left or right. You do go north or south, whatever. Those moments of making changes and turning pages in certain chapters in your life, that is a recurring theme. It is a recurring circumstance or a recurring situation that everybody faces. And I think maybe some of you might have lost sight of that, or maybe not sometimes feel, because again, that Eight of Swords, when it's upright, makes you feel isolated. It makes you feel as if you're the only person who's ever experienced this ever in the whole history of humanity. Lie, not true. Not possible, improbable, okay? So it's basically saying not only are you going to kind of struggle with which way to go and whether or not you really should put your foot down, whether or not you should really make these changes, but the idea is that it's going to come around again. Maybe even in the same situation, maybe even with the same person. I don't know if that gives you hope, not hope, but I don't know if that helps you in any kind of way, but put myself into this quickly subjectively, it would help me, because for me personally, I love when I'm not by myself. So I think that's sort of like what the message is everybody goes through this. Everybody has this Two of Pentacles energy in their lives at some point, if not constantly. And we all are going to have those moments. The overall energy, though, is very interesting. It's kind of like almost an antithesis to the Two of Pentacles, almost. In that, when you get the Two of Pentacles, or excuse me, the Chariot, card of Cancer, so there might be a Cancer of significance in your storyline, Taurus. But regardless, when you get the Chariot, it's a card of being more decisive, being more definitive, being more assured and centered on a specific goal or a specific destination. So I think that, you know, it is a general reading, so some of you know where you're going, some of you know where you want to be, and that's what you're going to do. Others of you, you're still teeter-tottering, you're still kind of weighing your options, you're still looking at the pros and cons of both choices, and you're kind of like, kind of in that stuck transitional period, right? The Chariot is there to signal for some of you that you're assured, but it's also to signal that the Chariot goes with what the Chariot driver, or yeah, I guess you would call it a driver, knows what he wants. The issue is to make the two sphinxes, or the two horses, the two animals that pull the Chariot forward, is getting them to work together. So I think that's what it is. I think, okay, thank you. Taurus, you have to figure out how your situation, your circumstances, things in the peripheral, things that are outside of yourself. I think many of you are pretty secure in yourself, or you will become secure in yourself. You'll know what you want. You'll know where you want to go. You'll understand your destination. Others of you, or excuse me, that's where most of you are going to be. The issue is going to be the external stuff. All right, I want to move to Utah. Example, I want to move to Utah. start over. I'm sketching my life out, and it involves moving to Utah. How am I going to deal with my family? That's one of the sphinxes. How am I going to deal with my family, my friends, leaving them? You know, if I've got kids, getting the kids into a new, you know, lifestyle, right? And then maybe this other sphinx is your work life, or your business, and you're having to navigate that. And those are different things that you have to consider. I think you yourself, Taurus, you're very aware of all of this from an internal space, a deep internal space, and you're going to deal with that. You're going to be able to deal with that. Even if it gives you trepidation, even if you pause for a little bit, even if you call a timeout while you make your decision, whatever. I think the overall energy is the Chariot. Again, the driver knows where he's going and he knows what he wants, but getting the kids and the relatives and the friends to get on board with the plan, to getting the job transition, to getting the idea of moving all of your resources, your home, your furniture, your pets, all of that stuff, the logistics of it, getting all of that to kind of agree to go where you want is going to be a problem. Is going to be the thing that is most trying. Okay? All right, Taurus, that is your reading for July. Again, I apologize for how late it was. I hope this was helpful to many of you. If it was, go ahead and hit that like button. It kind of looks like that. If you choose to. If you don't, that's also okay. Leave comments, share the video, subscribe to the channel, do all that fun stuff that YouTube allows you to do. And I'll come back in a few weeks and I'll do your August reading. And also, check the description box below. You'll see information on how to get a private reading with me if you're interested in that. I would love to work with you. And I will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.